everybody, and welcome back to the channel for this week's safety recap. Before we get started, make sure that you give me a thumbs up down below here to encourage me to make more videos of this type. Also, subscribe to my YouTube channel where you'll find additional videos of this nature, toolbox safety topic videos, and leadership training videos. And if you find this video useful or informative, make sure that you share it with your coworkers and colleagues. Well, let's go ahead and get started with the safety recap. First of all, I'd like to thank those who welcomed me onto their job sites this past week. Now, we remain terribly busy and the safety culture is flourishing, and I found all teams in good spirits. However, we need to remember lots of accidents and injuries occur when under stress from tight job schedules. Continue developing the safety culture and look out for yourself and teammates and continue to be the ones others wish to emulate. There were a few safety items of note, and I will cover them after a few words about human performance. This is the generic error modeling system. Sounds rather complicated, and the short name for that is GEMS. And it was developed by Dr. James Reason. The framework of human performance is captured in 5 guiding principles. People are fallible, and even the best make mistakes. Error-likely situations are predictable, manageable, and preventable. Individual behavior is influenced by organizational processes and values. People achieve high levels of performance based largely on the encouragement and reinforcement received from leaders, peers, and subordinates. And I got a real cool video I posted not long ago. I'll put a link up top here for you to check it out, where a subordinate did he got on to me for not being following a safety principle. So check that out. And then finally, events can be avoided by an understanding of the reasons mistakes occur and application of the lessons learned from past events. Within the framework for human performance, it was determined that errors occur primarily through 2 modes: slips and mistakes. Now, slips are errors that occur during routine activities that do not require thought. These activities are so repetitive that we often think of them as things that we could do with our eyes closed. Mistakes are errors that occur during activities that require thought. They may be activities that some have familiarity with, or new activities that we have not performed before, but both require us to engage our brain and think through the situation and our actions. Let's talk a little bit about performance modes. The generic error modeling system has 3 performance modes in which errors occur. The performance mode is determined by the individual's familiarity with the task. From this familiarity with task, an individual naturally pays a certain level of attention. If an individual is very familiar with the task, his attention level is naturally low. Conversely, if his familiarity with the task is low, he naturally pays more attention to the performance of the task. Progressing from the most familiar to the least, the 3 performance modes are skill-based, rule-based, and knowledge-based. The skill-based performance mode is characterized by routine actions in a familiar setting. These are activities that we take for granted, like driving a car. Most of us who have been driving for several years do not think about how many degrees we will rotate the steering wheel to make a turn, or at what precise moment we must return the steering wheel to a neutral position to complete the turn. We just do it. In the skill-based performance mode, we do not consciously think about the actions we are performing. We are acting from memory, as if though we were on autopilot. Errors in this performance mode result from slips or lapses in execution due primarily to lack of attention. Because these activities are routine, our natural level of attention is already low, and small distractions can divert our attention away from the task and introduce a higher probability of error. The rule-based performance mode is characterized by the performance of a prepackaged actions taken because of the recognition of a familiar situation. These recognized situations are not as familiar as skill-based activities, but they have been previously experienced, and we utilize rules developed from experience to negotiate through the task. We apply an if-then logic to the situation. If this happens, then I do this to complete the task. Using the driving car analogy again, when driving and a siren is heard, we assess the situation and apply pre-programmed actions to return to a skill-based performance mode. We determine which way the emergency vehicle is traveling and whether we need to pull over or just be aware. Although we have some level of familiarity with the rule-based activities, they are not routine and require us to engage our brain and think. Errors in the rule-based performance mode result from misinterpretation. We fail to recognize the changes in the routine task and therefore do not apply the correct rule to complete the task successfully. Now, knowledge-based activities are those which we have the least familiarity with. This performance mode gets its name from what is gained in these activities, knowledge. There are unfamiliar situations requiring an individual to use analytical skills and judgment to complete. Returning to the driving analogy, suppose you're traveling down the road approaching a stop sign and the brakes fail to respond. For most of us, this is a completely unfamiliar situation requiring us to think through the actions necessary to safely stop the vehicle. Errors in the knowledge-based performance mode are a result of misdiagnosis. In situations that are unfamiliar, we do not have or recognize all the information needed to make an informed decision. We rely on assumptions to guide the decision-making process. The chance for error with missing information and assumptions is very high. Let's talk about organizational behaviors. The error modes provide terminology that we can use to describe an individual's actions and how they are influenced by human nature. Another component of human performance relates to the organization in which groups of individuals perform activities. The organization's strategy, goals, and processes can also impact the rate at which individuals are involved in errors. If the organization puts in place competing priorities or has ill-defined expectations or work practices, the chance for errors increase. Defined work processes, documented processes, and business controls are all examples of barriers to errors. Organizations that are effective at applying layers of barriers, referred to as defense in depth, reduce the chance for errors for individuals. Now, barriers can sometimes be error enablers if they are not well thought out, too cumbersome, or designed with complementary flaws. Effective barriers are developed by determining the root cause of errors and addressing those causes without introducing new error opportunities. The guiding principles of human performance tell us that no matter how proficient we are, we can all make mistakes. That situations in which errors occur are often predictable and therefore preventable. That we are impacted by the culture of the organization in which we perform activities, that we respond to positive reinforcement from our coworkers and that if we tie all this together and learn from past mistakes, we can avoid errors. Having knowledge of the performance modes and the associated error modes, we can recognize the pitfalls we face in a task and take appropriate measures to minimize the chance of errors. On with the recap. Let's talk about torch cutting operations. Ensure that we are using the proper equipment for the task. Inspect all components prior to starting of operations. Are cylinders properly secured in the cart that has a divider between the gas and the oxidizers? Are cylinders in storage segregated and separated by a minimum of 20 feet? And that's fuels from oxidizers. Are gauges of the proper type and working properly with lenses intact and not broken or missing? Are flashback arresters installed at the cylinders? Are the hoses in good shape? Do operators have and use the proper PPE, eye protection, and face protection? Is respiratory protection required? Do the employees have hearing protection and burn jackets and gloves? Those are some of the things on the checklist for proper torching operations. Let's talk about barricading hazardous work areas to prevent unauthorized access. Now, we're responsible for other contractors in our area. Barricading work areas that may have hazards such as flying debris, torch sparks, dropped object hazards, etc., will prevent unauthorized entry. Now, if other workers are required to be in the area, ensure that they have the required PPE and have been informed of the potential hazards. Let's talk about silica dust exposure. Read and be familiar with the OSHA silica standard. Table 1 addresses the most common exposures in construction. When mechanically breaking concrete with demolition equipment, the operator must be in an enclosed cab with a working HVAC and a high-efficiency filtration system. Now, if there are employees on the ground in the area, then water must be applied at the point of impact to minimize dust emissions. Now, if you're unsure about silica dust exposure while planning a task, consult the OSHA standard, Table 1, or your safety professional. Next, let's talk about wet weather hazards. Wet weather in construction presents many slips, trips, and fall hazards. Muddy surfaces, wet floors, wet stills, mounting and dismounting equipment, and driving all become more hazardous in wet conditions. Use extra caution when the weather is wet. Next, let's talk about power or extension cords. Inspect cords prior to use. Inspect insulation for damage, cuts, or abrasions. Ensure ground pins are intact. Use the shortest run possible, and be sure when using electric hand tools that there is a GFCI at the source end of the power. All right, boys and girls, that's it for this week's safety recap. Thanks for stopping by, and thanks for watching. Make sure that you give me a thumbs up down below here to encourage me to make more videos of this type. Also, subscribe to my YouTube channel where you'll find additional videos of this nature, toolbox safety topic videos, and leadership training videos. And don't forget, if you find this information useful or helpful, make sure that you share it with your coworkers and colleagues. And remember, until we see each other again, take care of yourself because you're number one. Look out for your coworkers and help ensure their safety. Have a grateful day. And remember, I will see you in the field. Man, I thought I was going to get that done in one take, and then somebody came in this side door and it slammed. Oh, well. If you watch to the very, very end, whichever this thing rolls, if you watch to the very end, I left some more of those Easter eggs in there for you to take a look at. I need to get out and make more of these Easter eggs, and I hope to do that here in the near future. If you have any questions, any safety-related questions, make sure you use the thing down below and in the comments and type in that question, and I'll respond to you as quickly as I can. And if you'd like to see a video on a special topic that you have on your job site or you think that would be useful in your line of work, once again, leave a comment down below. Final note, now these videos are designed so that you can use them as your weekly toolbox safety topic. Most companies require that the teams perform a weekly toolbox safety topic. Now you can use this video and let your people watch it. The only criteria you would need to make, the only criteria you would have to follow is to make sure that you document it with a sign-in sheet. Document it, have everybody sign it, date it, job location and all that, and then reference this video, Middle Class Bubba, and the name of the video. I name every one of them, and the date that it was produced, and you can use that as a document in reference to the OSHA requirement for additional safety training. I've got 150, 200 videos. You're more than likely you'll find a subject in those in all those videos that would relate to your job site. Anyway, thanks for stopping by. Thanks for watching. Have a grateful day, and I'll see you in the field. Stop recording.